So I was supposed to make a project for history class about Henry Clay, and it's supposed to be 35 slides. Of course, I ain't fucking doing that shit. I got a bunch of shit going on in my life. I ain't fucking 35 goddamn slides. Yeah. So instead, today, when I was supposed to present it, because I had 2 weeks to do it apparently, but I've been forgetting about it, like I always do with this shit. And I just came up with a bunch of bullshit on the spot in 2 hours before class. So here's my project here, if y'all want to see. There's where's the fucking music? I can't even click on it. Shit's in the way. Right, well, it's muted. It's pretty fucking cool, ain't it? I think so. And the next slide. Here we go. Here's when Henry Clay was born. He was born April 12th, 1977. He was a Chinese American, upholded traditional American values. Went on to be a valuable citizen, a model citizen, in times of such uncertainty as 9/11 and the global war on terror that shocked everybody. Through all trials and heartache, this man reigned victorious in any adversary. Why did Henry Clay exist? I have this question for myself. He was given birth to by Anita Bath. Sadly, she had forgotten to use birth control that day. I say like that. Day. In his early life, Henry Clay had a rough childhood, living in Hyde Park, St. Louis. His mother was a prostitute. She had no high school diploma and could only provide for her child by selling her body to random men. She was often abusive towards him, and he had a rough time dealing with untreated schizophrenia. His classmates would often make fun of him, because he would have schizospasms all the time. He would do air punches out of nowhere, and said things like there would be a black president in the future, which that's fucking crazy, and everybody thought he was insane. The absence of a father and a mother figure had a great negative influence on him, so much that when he was 15 he had joined the MS-13 and carried out many acts of violence, as his mother was often threatened when he said, "No, I don't want to do this no more. Please, let me out. Please. I shit myself. I just had a stinky, please." Where the fuck was I? It wasn't until 1994 when his friends finally got arrested, and his friend was blamed for the planning he had done by force of the bombing in OKC, Oklahoma City, next year, that was taken off their hands and then carried out by the FBI instead. That day forward, he wanted change. This is where my presentation got stopped. He was already tired of me, but once I got to the talking microwave, it was the last straw. We sit the fuck down. Anyway, one day after Henry Clay came home from work, realizing he didn't have a job, and got disability checks from the government, being banned for the 14th time from a McDonald's for going behind the counter and touching the food. He was sitting beside his microwave. He's just sitting there, and it started talking to him. It said, beep, 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 which translates to sell your house and dump it all into piss corn. He went downstairs to consult his friends. They appeared out of thin air wearing dark clothes. Some ninjutsu bullshit they came up with or some. They affirmed this and said that he should also dump his mother's life savings in the piss corn too. As soon as he buys it, the damn thing crashes. Higher ups, they knew he was buying it. He felt they were following him everywhere, and he threw away his computer. But even after losing everything, he ain't gave up. It was prime business time for one of his side hustles. Excuse me. Selling lemonade on the side of the road. He grinded for 3 hours till sunset. Only 2 customers, a mom and her son. He gave the son his lemonade while he pissed on the moms. Only Sigmas would understand. He spent the little money he had on weed and went to the neighbor's house, who was an elderly woman. High out of his mind, he convinced her to sell her TV for a 99% commission fee. He headed back home, still on the grind. He pirated the Wolf of Wall Street and watched it back to back twice for a total of 6 hours. The first time was for his own personal enjoyment, but the second was to download the main character's personality. He paid attention to every detail, every word, every action, and then practiced in the mirror for another 2 hours. After this, he watched whole Drama Island until he passed out. He rinsed and repeated this every day until he made it big with his best-selling book, Serial Budweiser Razor Blade, in which he raised awareness to schizophrenia on accident. The book he wrote where he recorded his days like in a journal, ranted, and kept a shopping list inside, was published as a non-fiction story about the Great Depression. At first, his book was thrown out for having nothing to do with the Great Depression, or even the worldwide recession going on at that time. But one man was going through the trash can and read his book, instantly empathizing with it. The man was Albert Einstein, in which he had many connections to Comcast, and the very next week it had become the most talked about book, only below the Bible. Passages had stuck in the hearts and minds of Americans, such as 9:30 a.m. I arrive at the office. I'm only the janitor. But according to the Instagram motivational Sigma post, the CEO is supposed to respect me. 11:30 a.m. I lose my shit after seeing myself in the mirror while cleaning the bathrooms and end up beating the crap out of myself. I am my own worst enemy. My boss sees this and fires me. 3 p.m. I am sent back home. And 3 p.m. I decide to check up on my GameStop employee. I decide to check up on the GameStop employee down the street that looks just like my dead brother. Ain't no way. It ain't no way it could be him. Where is it? No, there ain't no way. He died like 3 years ago. There's a possibility. Maybe I should. No, there ain't no way. I'm gonna. American public's awareness was raised about mental illness, and a charity was raised in his honor. Everybody was talking about Henry. His publicity even got him to play side roles in a Martin Luther King movie featuring Ryan Gosling as Martin Luther King Jr. Black Panther 2 featuring Ryan Gosling as Black Panther, and Barack Obama featuring Ryan Gosling as Obama. This commercial success had led Henry to rise up into the upper class. Henry Clay had grown bored with his life. Being invited to live St. James Island in 2015 had raised his eyebrows. There was something off about that place, so he went back 3 years later and disguised himself as Bill Clinton, a man who frequents there often. After being there for 5 days, he discovered that a major human trafficking ring was being operated there, and in many places across the world. He was later caught when when Jeffrey Epstein and the real Bill Clinton were together on a plane in the U.S. Virgin Islands ordering the Filipino special. Now, I personally ain't got a clue what that means or what in the fuck a Filipino is. What in the fuck is a Filipino? But it sounds awful, you know? It just sounds so awful. Like war, and starvation, and poverty. Prince Andrew expelled him off the island, but he already had enough of the information and evidence he needed. Jeffrey Epstein was convicted a year later, and finally all the evils from his sex ring and the corporations tied to it would be punished, and the justice would be brought to the world. But then Jeffrey Epstein was murdered and the world turned a blind eye. Now Henry spends his days wandering the freeways of Albania, playing Frogger in real life because his iPhone 6 stopped working. Nobody knows him there, so he lives a peaceful life, though probably riddled with guilt and thoughts of failure. And there's a picture of Henry Ford, and there's like a bunch of slides. They ain't got nothing on them. I couldn't bullshit for a full 35 slides, so. Oh, here we go. The sources and quotes. I don't know if you could read that, but it says I made it all up, because I did. I remember when I was a teenager. How's Obama talk? Yes, we can. How do I make his voice? I used to be able to make his goddamn voice. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. That's as close as I'm gonna get to it. I remember when I was a teenager. I was at McDonald's, and I asked my mom for extra ketchup, and she told me to go ask for it myself. And I was like, fucking bitch! What if they don't like me? What if my voice is too scratchy and they think I'm a little nerd they can beat up? Or what if it's a cute goth chick and I bust a little nut and she gets all embarrassed? It's the worst. But this book I can relate to. It makes me feel better. Yes, we can. Barack Obama. This man, the OG, man. He contacted on all my phones, man. R. Kelly. And then we got fine men such as Henry Clay should be a role model for all American youth. George Washington. I think that's it, yeah. I have to redo it, like do the actual thing in one day. And I ain't doing that, so I'm gonna fail the class. I don't really give a shit, so.